back to a lifetime of conversations. And this is a conversation we had a few minutes ago, and we're compelled to bring it to you.
We were compelled to turn on the mics and let it be known.
Yeah, and we're going to actually say the same exact things we said 5 minutes ago.
No, we're not.
No,
That's
we're not.
impossible. That's why I hate when we do that. And it's like, oh, we can never recreate this. We can talk about it again, but it's never going to recreate that conversation. This is why we do this podcast, because there are conversations that just can't be recreated.
So we'll do our best right now. We're talking about raw natural talent.
Yeah,
Like,
whether it's
like I have a friend. Her name is Kat, and she's an amazing artist.
Yep.
And she could just draw anything.
Yeah, like if you said something like a flower, in a field over a rainbow, it'd be like, bam, she just drew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I brought her a picture of my dog, and I said, I want you to draw this picture for my girlfriend for Christmas. And she handed me this picture on a piece of wood.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's my dog.
That's my
and
dog.
I gave it to my girlfriend on Christmas, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I just said a minute ago, like if you play something on the radio, I could walk up to my piano and just play it.
Right. Yeah, the raw talent, like your musical raw talent. I don't really think I have a raw talent like that.
Yeah, you do.
I do. I have autistic. Yeah, I have autistic talent. I have artistic talent, but it's erratic. I'm gonna put it that way. I used it in many different ways. I went to dance. I went to breakdancing, and then I can draw and I understand art, and I played music. Right. But I'm not super good at any one of those things. I can just do them all.
But you're good enough at all of them.
Right, but that's what I meant by erratic when it comes to artistic ability. But I think you're right though with the raw talent. Roy was a good example back in the day. He used to just draw stuff up. Like
he was an extremely talented
in
guy.
a 30-minute session, he had an entire picture that would look like something out of a comic book. And you look at it and just be like, what happened there? And yet he wasn't paying attention in school, and God knows what he got. But it didn't matter. That was amazing. This is where I think the schooling
but he was
system
very
is messed
shy,
up.
too.
Yeah. He wrote really small, remember?
Yes, I do. I remember one time.
Really small, and he wrote really slow. The teacher would have to slow down and be like, all right, I'm not done. Like, you got to hurry up, Roy. Like the rest of the classes. And he's over there, like, trying to, like, calligraphy every word.
Yeah. I would love to get
I hope it helped him.
I loved that guy.
Yeah. I know he's still around. We're not going to say his last name.
No.
We don't do that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I remember one time I never really had birthday parties like at my house when I was a kid.
Yeah, I can't. I remember maybe one or two, but vaguely.
I had one, and to remember in the front of my house, like underneath my parents' bedroom, there was like a little row of bushes. One time he was hiding behind there during one of my birthday parties, and I was like, bro, come hang out with us. What are you doing? And he was just in his own world.
Yeah.
But
we used to go to the mall a lot. We used to hang out. He did break out of his shell, but earlier in the I believe probably I would say I think we all were though, like in our own little shell in middle school and trying to figure out who we were.
But I always had high regard for him. I
a lot of fun.
Did.
Funny, great sense of humor, dark, quiet, dark but quiet,
and
not in a bad way.
No, but when we got into high school...
Kind of like an Elon Musk way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that a good way to explain it?
Yes, exactly.
Kind of funny and quirky, but really dark, and you go, wait a minute. Yeah, that is kind of funny.
When we got into high school, he was like into like Trent Reznor and
Nirvana,
9 Inch Nails, stuff like that.
Which is kind of funny because this is how cultures of the world should be. Whereas, high school had cliques, right?
Yeah.
There's always cliques. It doesn't matter what generation. There's the jocks, there's the music, there's the geeks, right? But I had friends
we had the freaks.
in all of them. The freaks or the emos, what they would call them now, or whatever the new term for it is. They're all they don't change. But I had so many friends in so many, I guess, let's say genres that I never really thought about it. It was normal. I just thought, why am I specifying? They're my friend. We have a good time. You hang out. Just because your interests are so you argue about what music to listen to. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
But that was
I hung out with everybody.
Yeah. But what other? I was trying to think of other kinds of raw talent Like, because there were some people that are just stupid mechanics. Like, they could fix anything without even trying.
Like Chris.
Where I don't know. Like, I couldn't think of something. I know he did work on the military, didn't he?
Yeah. He would.
Which is where you hopefully go with something like that kind of raw talent. You know, someplace where it's important.
And he would talk to me about planes, and I had no idea what the hell he was.
Right,
talking.
I can only imagine.
He's like, oh, we have this plane and this plane, and this plane. When it takes off and flies, the oil will stay inside of it because of the speed it's going, because it's the fastest plane in the world. But once it lands, the oil will just dump out of it.
That's crazy.
I'm like, what? And he's like, every plane that I have worked on, the people that made the motors, the only thing that they cared about was how to fit everything into this box. They had no concern about how I was going to take it out, fix it, and put it back in.
Oh, okay. I see. Accessibility.
Yeah.
Right.
He's it's like trying to put 100 pounds of shit into a 2-pound box.
Yeah, sure.
And they just crammed everything in it. And when it was my turn to fix it, they didn't care.
No, it's your job, man.
Yeah. And his hands are all messed up because of it and stuff like that.
But like, there's so many. I was going to say it before. I didn't really want to press the issue, but it's what I think is wrong with a lot of our school systems now is that we're so reliant on what is supposed to be generally important. We don't treat people with natural raw talent, no, but whether it's technical, musical, artistic, emotional. People with the raw emotional talent should be drawn in a direction that would help them, whether
like
they
the
become
drama
the
actor,
right.
a radio
so like
personality.
Instead of like forcing all of these classes and points and grades, and like you create systems that work around these kids, because there's got to be like, even if we used AI like aptitude tests as a guideline, we couldn't say that too loud because then they'd be like, this is now what we do. Now the AI tells you everything you do in your next world because, the data doesn't lie. No, but it is a good guideline.
Yeah, it's
right?
a good guideline.
It's like ChatGPT. Like, I don't take it verbatim, but it's a good guideline. So now you can go on your own from there. It's a good stepping stone. But there's so much raw talent. Even though through the years there were cooks that we worked with, they were just naturally good at this thing, and they didn't care. They didn't even know it. They don't even pay attention to it.
Autopilot.
Right. They're on like some kind of autopilot, and you're working your ass off just to catch up. Mm-hmm. And they're like ahead of you, like using one arm, waving in the wind.
yeah, like Bennigan's. Yeah. I mean, that was an amazing lesson for me.
What was?
Bennigan's. When I first started.
Yeah. Well, that was our first introduction into the workforce too, though.
Yeah, but
introduction.
That was the biggest kick in my ass that I ever got.
It was hard
because I had this job, and I went to work every day, and I wasn't good at it. And eventually, I became good at it.
Yeah. And then you have to want to become better to even get better. And because if you don't, you'll just end up coasting. You're just doing.
And I just sat there, and every day that I worked, I learned from like Al and what's her name, Angela.
Yeah, the chick that worked fry with the long nails.
My God,
never understood that. And she wore gloves to cover the nails, but she had these long ass nails, and she was one of the best fry cooks I ever saw.
Absolutely, she was
amazing. And you work with a lot of people, and that's why you're working in restaurants. Like you see the people come and go. The turnover rate is crazy, but the ones that are just you're not going to make it. Whether you suck or you just don't want to try because you have to try.
See, the restaurant business is kind of like this. You either have it or you don't.
Did we ever talk about the seagull?
Oh, yes, we did.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did.
I have to find some more.
About it again. I mean,
no. I'm not gonna re-talk about another story, the same story.
Well, if anybody never heard about it, this dude brought a seagull into the kitchen by his feet.
We'll have to find that episode and relate it back in the future.
Actually, it was the episode that we did about the restaurant biz.
Was it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's worth it. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, I worked so many restaurants and seen so many talented people. I worked with this one guy, Koo, and it was here in Florida, and he was naturally raw talent. Like, he was an amazing chef. He thought a way about food that most people don't, and he did it so nonchalantly, and he made these amazing fucking things, right? But he was a complete fuck up. He was on drugs. He loved his hookers, and he didn't give a shit because he knew he was good enough not to care. And you're over here trying to stay afloat of understanding his thought process. And I always found people like that frustrating because it was like, even if I didn't want to be where he was, I wanted to still do something with it. And watching them throw it away, or I don't know, shame it.
It's a shame.
It is,
really
yeah,
is a
shame it.
I mean, I worked with
He's a good guy too, but
I worked with a guy at
I threatened him with a knife once in the kitchen because he was pressuring me. It was only two of us, two people called off, and it was just me and him, and he was fucking getting nasty and cursing at me. I took off my apron and picked up a knife. I was like, "You say one more fucking word, I'll stab you, and I'll leave." And he was like, whoa, 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 okay. He's like, calm down. He was like talking me off the ledge. You know, oh, yeah. Like, you need me. I'll walk out the door, and then you're trapped in this kitchen by yourself, pushing all the orders, right? You know, don't talk to me that way. These were the times when we were just getting over. You remember how people just talk in the kitchen? It was,
oh, my God.
It was a stressful environment, you know. People be screaming and yelling and cursing. And,
yeah, I know.
And it got nasty, and I always wondered more people didn't get stabbed. I wasn't actually going to stab him, but he thought I was.
Yeah. I remember one time when I worked at this kitchen, this barbecue restaurant, and somebody pulled a knife.
Yeah.
And said, "Don't you effing talk to me like that."
I mean, nowadays, that's dangerous. Like, I mean, you'd be lucky if, you know, you're not arrested or if something attempted assault and all kinds of stuff. But back in the day, it was like a Tuesday.
That's the way a kitchen was.
Yeah, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It was a bunch of people. It was like a machine. You're all parts of the machine.
Yeah, cogs.
And yeah.
No different than any other job, just
and if
more
the piston
physical.
breaks, the piston looks at the carburetor and says, "I'm going to effing kill you." If you And the manager's like, "All these people want their food. Stop killing each other and do your job."
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right.
Do you have any other examples of raw talent that you can think of? Because I'm really racking my brain. I got to meet some new people because I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. Raw, like unadulterated talent.
I have
and I'm sure everyone is good at something. That's crazy not to think we aren't. But like
a lot of the people that I could think of are people that do like artistic stuff like on paper and pen.
Right.
Because for me, I can't do that.
Right.
If somebody walks up to me and is like, "Hey, this song sounds like this," I'm like, "Yeah, no shit." You know? I'm like,
you're like, well, it's based off of these three chords, and this is pretty basic.
Blindfold me, put me in front of my piano.
Yeah, I know.
Play it. So, I mean, I'm amazed by people that have artistic.
I mean, it's just as good as someone who knows numbers really well, or can do like insane calculations, or even just like fucking advanced math in their head, let alone fucking super advanced. I can't even add.
I'm a math idiot.
I know.
And what do you mean you know?
No, I mean, I know because I am. Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, I thought you were trying
but
to
yes and
no,
yes.
No, I'm kidding.
That was a yes to both.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not.
But when I was a kid, and even to this day, I mean, they should have looked at me when I was a kid and said, "Man, this kid knows how to do this, this, and this. Let's not even teach him math."
Well, yes, and that was what I meant before.
Do you know why?
By
Because this kid is never, ever going to build a bridge or solve
But even if you wanted to, what would have stopped you from learning further? Like if you wanted to put down your music career and become an engineer, you could still do it.
If I had the desire.
Right. But that was my point of when it's public school and they're growing up, instead of going by numbers, we're not going by the people, the children, the future people, the children, the adolescents, the raw talent. This kid is really good with building stuff. So maybe we gear him towards architecture or set design or building design, or, you give them, there's not enough of that.
Absolutely.
It's almost like it's like anti-personalization nowadays, where I don't want to base it off of algorithms and computers and statistics, but that's what they do. But they need to do it more for the personalization.
Yeah. When I was in high school, I took Math Sequential 1.
Yeah.
Math Sequential 2. Math Sequential 2, my teacher was Mr. Farrell.
Okay.
This German.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy, by the way. He tried to help me a lot.
Yeah.
I don't remember that many teachers. I remember that he really tried to help, and I know I'm one of those people that he was like sad that he couldn't help me, that math was never going to stick. I'm sorry. I failed. Not only did I fail Sequential 1, I took it in summer school and failed it again.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, really bad. I'm not embarrassed about my lack of math skills. It's one of those things that I just could never grasp, and tried and got so frustrated. And maybe it was I wasn't taught the right way. Maybe it was I didn't try hard enough. Maybe it was other reasons, but it's
not you.
No, I accepted that. a long time ago. But when they told me, "Oh, you don't have to take any math anymore," I'm like, "Thank you,
Thank you.
So what did I take? I took stuff that was relevant. I took a typing class. Now this was the era where computers were in their infancy.
Right.
Like the internet. 2 years later after we graduated, we would get IMs. Instant messengers.
Oh,
right?
amazing.
Right. But we were still writing back then. So I saw I want to learn to type. At least type well enough to understand. I took classes that were purposeful,
Right.
instead of shit that I'm never going to use. Because look what happens now. Do we really need the math? There's nothing that we need on a daily basis unless it's your job related that you can't do on a calculator on a computer or have already done for you.
And your teacher said, you need to learn this because you're never going to have a calculator in your pocket at all time.
Right.
iPhone.
Exactly. Wrong. So
Wrong.
Again, I agree. Yeah, and it does go back to the schooling system. I wonder if one day we will actually see that change, because that's a huge legislation change. But I think it would empower so many children with talent they actually want to use.
Could you imagine if you were a kid in high school and they focused on your aptitude and your
5
natural
art
talent,
classes, two
you
basic.
passed,
Like you need
and
English.
Aced
You
every
need
class. You aced every class because they focused it on what you liked. Like when I when I took math.
I can't imagine it. I'm sorry.
When I took math, I aced both of my math classes because I memorized what they told me. I wrote the numbers down. And after it was over, I'm like, I have no idea what this means, and I'm never going to use it again. But I passed the class.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is that and that goes a lot back to the kids today. Is that why they're cheating using chat, because we're teaching them things that they don't need, that they can't find at the touch of a button.
Mm-hmm.
Teach them things that are relevant,
How to invest their money.
Right, even that. Like basic stuff. Teach them how to do the taxes. What does it mean when you pay your taxes? How do taxes work? We had a whole class on it. I forget what it was called. They taught us how to write checks, balance checkbooks, do our taxes. This was a class in high school, but I had to take that class to fill in gaps because I didn't take math.
Really? I never took that class.
Yeah, because most people didn't, because they were taking math. But that shit was relevant to me. I wrote my own checks, did my own taxes for years after. But that's my point, is that it was something relevant. It was alongside my typing class. But they were like a half a credit each or something like that. Like they make it less, right? Math is more, but these real world things that might help you in the future, they're less.
Yeah. But in your life, they're more.
But I saw that ahead. I thought of that. That's why I always thought of those things. Like critical thinking. You should be teaching it in schools, teaching kids to be, not unemotional, but way more logical than they are now. I mean,
Do you know who I admire so much in my life? Mr. Infante.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he of course he was insane. God. Of course you have to be insane,
crazy motherfucker,
to do his job. He took a bunch of children that never picked up an instrument and taught them how to play
and spent years teaching us. It wasn't just like, because we had a couple of music teachers, but I think we had a few years with each of them. Mm-hmm. Right? Because our first one was Mr. Infante.
Mr. Infante.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to imagine, you're right. He molded us for like the first couple of years when you can't even make the buzzing
in the mouthpiece.
With your trumpet, let alone a fucking note. Yeah. And then you have to work with them. And then you work in groups. And then you take the,
I was a second chair trumpet player. But every day he would walk up with this sour look on his face and he'd point to me. And he would make me play concert B flat.
Yeah.
And he would tune the whole band to my trumpet because he knew that
you're perfect pitch. Would you consider it perfect pitch?
No, I do not have perfect pitch.
So, like advanced pitch?
I have very good relative pitch.
Okay, all right. I knew there was a term for it. I didn't know what it was.
Perfect pitch is a curse.
I can only imagine what people hear and how everything would annoy them.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like every single sound.
If you told me right now,
someone's
you could
singing
have
in their car while you're driving by, you want to kill.
Actually, if I listen to the radio and I hear like Whitney Houston or other people sing a note that's a little bit out, I know it. But having perfect pitch is like me taking a bowling ball, dropping it on a piano, and somebody walking up and taking their two hands and going. Boom.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. Like, if you play a note on the piano, somebody with perfect pitch could play it right away.
Right. Oh, so it's a matter of timing, like knowing precisely what that note is.
Oh, G, boom.
Right, yeah.
if you play a note on the piano, I'll have to sing a few things in my head. I'm like, all right.
Right, you're trying to find the note.
This is the first note of Billy Joel's New York State of Mind. I always go to that, to G.
That's your home?
Yeah, that's my home. And then I count, or I do Billy Joel, New York State of Mind. I do Mozart. Dun, 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 dun.
Sure.
Or there's a couple of other ones I do to recognize certain notes.
Okay.
But having perfect pitch would be an absolute nightmare for me.
I never looked too much into it. I don't think I've ever met anybody that had it, but I mean, there are people that are more attuned to it than others, way more attuned.
And I got in trouble. Like, do you remember Miss Hubbard?
Vaguely third grade?
Yeah.
Second grade?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Second or third grade.
Sure.
Like, we had music class. Every day that I walked in music class, she would have a punishment on the board for me.
She preempted a punishment?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Because I
mean, you probably deserved it, but
I did, because I was a smart ass. You know?
You're an old black lady.
Yes.
She was really nice, too. She was a lovely lady.
She was very nice.
Pleasant when she wasn't screaming or yelling at you, but we're kids.
But I belittled her messages, sarcastically.
Yeah, you pissed her off, man.
Yeah,
she's a person.
And then there was, do you remember Miss DeCibio? She was older Italian lady with short white hair. My perfect ears.
Yeah, okay. I remember that one. She sounds like a classic Long Island Jap.
Yeah, she was.
Hi, honey, how are you?
But she wasn't a Jap. She was an
coffee.
Italian American Long Island. And do you remember Mr. Horn?
Yeah. He didn't. Strangely enough, did not have a horn. He was just a big bald guy, I think. No.
He was
beard.
Bald. No, it was just like an old guy with
white
hair.
I don't
and he
for the record, I don't remember Mr. Horn.
Okay, so Mr. Horn would give us private lessons outside of our music class. And
okay. Yes. Vaguely I remember him.
And he would always try to make me attack the note perfectly. I'm like, I have good tone, I have good intonation. The way that my tongue moves in my mouth, he'd always be like, 2. I'm like, you told me 2, 3, 4 times. This is how I attack this note.
But at least you got personal. That's still more personal, I think, than most kids get today.
Yeah, it would cost me a lot of money right now to have somebody give me private, personal, one-on-one lessons.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it was Mr. Dalpiez when I was in that class. He's the one that sent me.
He was after. Yeah, he was when we went into high school.
Oh, he was the coolest.
He was a good man. Yeah, he was a great teacher.
Great teacher.
And I was nobody. I was at best third chair somewhere. Like whether it's I'm in the remedial, but there was the good band and then the better band. Let's just put it that way.
No, we were always in the same band. You were always sitting right next to me.
Yeah, but there was another, when we joined jazz band, let's say that would be the better band. I'm never getting to 1 or 2 or 3 in jazz band. Maybe at 4.
You had Adrian and
right. Jeff. There were people that were superior to the point of Dizzy Gillespie superior
because they went home and played all.
No, and they had lessons and they were grown up with it and their parents did it and music was their life. I get it. I'm not trying to kick at them. I'm just saying I was always there. But in our regular music class, once enough of you left to a better world, I got to number 2. Right, and I was like, I get maybe a solo, but it was okay. I don't regret any of it. I actually wasn't that great. I was just good enough. I practiced. If you practice anything, you get better at it. But if you don't practice, especially when you're not good with raw talent, you got to work harder. And that goes with math and with cooking and with art. I think anybody can draw eventually.
Dave, if you cut my pinky off right now, I could count to 9.
So dramatic.
I'm being honest with you. I am. I don't.
Who out there wants me to cut? No, he can't cut his pinky off.
No,
never mind.
Hold on. Snap.
Maybe eventually when we go live TV or something. Yeah.
I'll put myself up to that.
Raw talent is tough, and I think that's what makes all the greats in the world. I mean, you can look at, you can say the Einsteins, right? The Michael Jacksons, when it comes to art, like the famous painters. Most of them didn't become famous until after they died.
Right.
Decades, if not centuries later, right? And all of a sudden we're appreciating their art. I think
Leonardo da Vinci.
Well, Da Vinci is a case in his own because not only was he an artist, but he was a mathematician and a scientist and an inventor. It's like he hit them all. He had high marks in every single one of those.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of raw talent. But that's why I didn't want to include him, because he was almost an anomaly, you know?
But then so again was Einstein. I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah, but Einstein didn't invent anything other than the mathematic equation that was part of the physics. So he was still, he wasn't like an artist. Einstein didn't draw the fucking
he
10th
played the
What was it, the
violin.
9th Cathedral, the 27th Cathedral?
Oh,
that thing on
Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel.
Listen, I'm not religious, but it's fucking gorgeous, man. And the guy built it upside down, on his back.
But then again, Michelangelo was an amazing artist. I mean,
I'm confusing Michelangelo and Da Vinci.
Yeah, no, Einstein.
Oh, right.
Like Da Vinci and Einstein were like parallel geniuses.
You think? All right.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Da Vinci's his picture of the man when his arms are going around, it's perfect.
Yeah. And at a time when that was basically on anatomy, wasn't it?
Yes.
The anatomy of the human.
Yeah, the anatomy.
Which again, is why I said he was more of like the scientific biology. Like there was more to it. He drew the pictures because he had an interest in the actual anatomy, not the fact that he could just draw a really nice picture.
And painting too. And Michelangelo created the statue of David.
Yeah.
A 17-foot statue. And when they said, "How did you sculpt David?" He said, "David in there." He said, "David was already in there. Yeah. I just chipped away the excess."
Yeah.
And then,
well, that's why. Imagine that. I always think about that with 3D sculptures, like how someone sees something in nothing, and only they can see it. Like other people can think they see it, but you can't see it like that person sees it. And when they create it and it actually happens, you can only go. I say this to my dad sometimes when he does things with the plants in the yard and when he builds things.
I'm like, your dad is amazingly talented.
Yes, in that way, like incredibly.
And he paints too.
He does. No, absolutely. But there are certain ones he shines more in, and he loves his plants. But when I say to him, I asked him once, I was like, it was actually recently, it was like a couple of months ago. I'm like, is that what it looked like to you in your head? And he's like, but he plans and he architects it out and he draws it on paper and then he does plan. But I wonder, because I don't think he can express it, if it looks like he thought it would look. He just does it. That was the same point of like someone, you tell them to draw a painting and they just do it. Like you're trying to question the genius of that thing, no matter what that thing is. And it's really hard because the person doesn't want to hear that because it ruins the thing. Like you're picking apart, you're scientifically picking apart the amazingness.
Yeah, it might be insulting to them.
Yes, I think that's what it is.
But
and I felt bad. I'm like, I'm really trying not to insult you. You're a layman trying to understand this complex thing that they're like, just do it, man. Like you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Do you know what I would bet that when your dad imagines something and he makes it, it looks better than he imagined it in his head.
Okay, all right. He couldn't give me an answer. He didn't give me an answer that was at least good enough for me. But
really?
It's fine.
Oh, that surprises me.
No. Oh yeah. I think he said 3 words.
Yeah. Shut up and hit you in the head with something like a wooden spoon or something.
No, the 3 words that were mostly was just I don't know. Like it's like when I asked anything as a kid, and this is why I think if I want to say our generation, but if I grew up with the internet, I would be a lot smarter than I am today because I had so many questions that were unanswered because the answers were difficult.
But you might have been dumber.
Possible, or maybe maybe I wouldn't have asked the same questions,
or got false information based on what other people presented to you.
Not learned how to, dilute through misinformation. Yeah, which is what that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. And it's funny, maybe we'll segment a little, going off of raw power in the sense that there were things in the beginning of the internet that like you just fall for. Like there's one. And you can even look it up on your off time. It disgusts me when they hoaxed the first hoverboard with Tony Hawk, right? And the whole thing was a hoax, and it looked good.
It did.
I got to be honest.
I saw it.
It looked really good, and I kept saying to myself and everybody, I believed it, but I'm still going. If this was true, this changes the world.
Yeah.
This changes cars. This changes the way we move things. Why do we need a pallet lifter? If this thing can hold up a human being, we could move fucking televisions and refrigerators with these things. This is not just a skateboard. This is changing the world. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized I got duped.
Yeah.
And I was angry about it.
I was too.
And you're like, they fucking got me, these motherfuckers, to stir up some bullshit on a hoax. That's why I think how a lot of people feel about like Bigfoot and aliens, and it's like they always tell you, oh, they spotted this. Look, man, it's a fucking hoax.
But let me ask you this: if it wasn't Tony Hawk and it was John Smith down the street on the hoverboard,
did it look as good though? Because that looked really good.
But people believed it because it was Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah, no,
and
it's definitely an additive.
We have faith.
Yeah.
In Tony Hawk because we watch him on TV.
Right. Plus, he's also an actual skateboarder.
Yeah.
So, and then you're thinking to yourself, like, how is he doing all this thing? How did he move like that on a hoverboard? You can't. When he landed, how come it didn't slam into the ground? There's no way the gravity would be able to support that kind of press. And if it's electromagnet, where's the magnet underneath?
Where's the magnet?
Right, you start really picking it apart, and then I got so angry. That was the first one that got me really good.
It should have been Michael Fox. No, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, but that was a movie. You knew that was fake. This was them promoting. This was supposed to be real.
Yeah,
There's
but
a
if it
difference
was
when
Michael J. Fox doing, he's like,
No.
Hey, you guys remember Back to the Future?
they made those shoes.
Yeah,
They made the shoes. They
with
were like
the zip up?
$250. Yeah.
Yeah.
$200, $300. And they were prototyped at that point. Even the jacket, like the one that like refit to like you think about stuff like
When it
that.
dried
We will
off.
never put. Yeah, I'm sure there's things similar to that on a very expensive scale, but general clothes will never be like that. That's insane. No way.
Hey, butthead.
McFly, hoverboards don't work on water.
Unless you got power.
You need power. Oh yeah.
Oh, you have to know.
But you know what the second one was, and I'm only gonna say two. And this one you'd have to look up yourself because I feel like I'm a fucking idiot. And it's disgusting, but it was fucking fascinating at the time. The homunculus. You ever heard of that?
Homunculus. Oh, the word homunculus means a person that is of actual size, but they're smaller.
Right, or
But they don't have
Deformed, like it has a weird meaning, right?
it means somebody who's small but doesn't have. Do you ever see a dwarf?
In proportionate, like
Yeah. But
right,
they are
right,
proportionate.
right to that version of them.
Right. I learned that word from Big Bang Theory. When
Yeah.
Sheldon said that.
He used it as an insult.
Yeah. He said that Leonard
Because
was
it's generally an
homunculus.
insult. So the homunculus videos, when the internet was pretty fresh, like I'm talking 2004, 3, 2, around there. And this guy put his own sperm in a chicken egg and said it hatched into this thing, right? And it was a blob, and it had an eye, and you'd watch it grow, and it fucking looked real, man. And this is a whole Russia thing, and then you end
I
up
remember.
Yeah.
The chicken's name was Buck.
I don't know what the chicken's name was. It doesn't really matter because once you find out it's all bullshit and it was all a hoax and it worked, you learn to quickly catch on to bullshit. Like you are really scrutinizing something when you watch it nowadays. And if you're not, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
That's why like misinformation and fake, what we call fake news gets out because people ain't paying enough attention.
Did you ever see the movie?
Worst.
What is it with Jack Nicklaus? The Shining.
Once back in the day, not my kind of
There's
thing.
a scene where
Here's
he's-
Johnny.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody knows. Yeah.
There's a scene where he's typing on the typewriter,
Right.
and they use AI to make him Jim Carrey. And the first time I
that's
saw
great.
it, it was a few years ago. I'm like, Jim Carrey is the greatest actor I have ever seen. And then after I found out that it was like,
Yeah, it was a deep fake.
yeah, a deep fake. Exactly.
Oh, that's what you're looking
the word.
for.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
I don't
Deep
fall for deep fakes because I really, you got to really look into them. And I haven't seen them that they're really that good. But if you're not paying attention to it, they could be that good.
Dude, this one,
The moment you start paying attention to it,
was
you'll start to pick up
amazing.
little things. And
for now.
I was just gonna say right now, but we'll get to a point when you really have to do research to find out.
Yeah, if I ever become
a shame.
if I ever became like president or something like that, I would be terrified of deepfakes.
Yeah. No, any political figure, CEO, company, it doesn't matter. Your life could be ruined off of words that aren't even yours.
You could be Barack Obama,
Right.
and I could tell you that you are a fucking guinea. Or let me tell you something.
Well, I haven't had that word in a long while.
You are a disgusting wop. I'll tell you this right now. Believe me, you really are. You
You know-
greasy.
Do you know what's interesting about WAP? Do you know what it means?
Without papers.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, that's your insult?
Yeah, without
Like,
papers.
you're talking about every immigrant ever.
Yes,
like-
like, do you know how many people in
Ever
this country
before whatever
right
year
now?
it was? Because I think like, we used Ellis Island to bring people over back in the day, right, to New York. Eventually they built a center for that. Now we cram them all into cages and shit. But, without papers. I'm like, so that's an insult? I mean, I'm American. I was born here.
Yeah. I went to the DMV a few days ago.
My parents were born here, and not only that, my grandparents were born here. Yeah. So, not really insulting, but thanks. Try harder.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I went to the DMV a few days ago to transfer a title, and they're like, okay, do you have the paperwork? I'm like, no. They're like, get out of here, you wop. I'm like, hey.
I'm just saying, sir, you're without papers, so...
I'm only like 15% Italian.
End of the line.
I'll go back to the end of the line, but I'm coming back. Don't you wop.
How did we tangent on that?
I don't know.
That was
We're talking about people with a name.
Raw talent.
Yeah. And we go back to Einstein. Einstein played the violin, but then
Did
again...
he? I didn't know that. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, he was a very talented person.
Huh. Oh, so maybe he's more like Da Vinci.
But 2005, he came up with special relativity.
2005?
2015, he came up with general relativity, E equals mc squared. That changed the world forever. I mean, you could talk to any kid, anybody.
Yeah, but you said 2005.
2005, he came up with special relativity.
2005?
Mm-hmm.
I
mean 1905, sorry.
Okay. It's fine. I mean, even if you don't get the exact day right when he came up with it, it definitely wasn't in the 2000s.
I'm in my
I just want to make sure I'm on the same page because I'm not going to be that guy to be like, well, actually, Rob,
he died in the 1930s.
It was the 1920s and 30s.
Whatever.
But
okay.
yeah.
So 1905 special relativity. That means, if have you ever been in an airplane?
Of course.
And you're flying over the water and the boat looks like it's standing in the same place?
Yeah. There's a train one too. If you're on one side and the other person is going the other way.
And you're like, how is this boat going 35 miles an hour and it looks like it's standing still? And then 10 years later, he came up with the E equals mc squared, which changed. Yeah. People don't realize how much it changed.
But then it's even kind of funny that he laughed at quantum physics. Whereas
yeah, he did.
We still barely understand it in its entirety, even close. But yet we implement it. And then we look at it on everything from
quantum mechanics. We see what it does, but we don't understand why it does.
Right,
what it does.
But they couldn't see what it did, but he knew something was there, and then that's what he always spoke of we talked about it before when particles are. I'm at a loss. Superposition and all that.
Right.
And spooky action at a distance. Right. Like. It was like a joke, but he still thought of it then. Yeah. And now we're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. We don't get a lot of those greats. Like, do you think there will be?
Quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement. That's what I was looking for.
That's it.
Yeah. I watch so much stuff on it, and it hurts my brain that I can't understand it more. Like, you get the basic concept, but the whole spin and,
the people explaining it to you don't understand.
I know, and it's like, how do you do something you don't fully understand, I guess? I don't know.
It's kind of like...
And how do we implement it? How do we make a computer? We made quantum computers. If you didn't understand, how the fuck did you make it?
E equals mc squared is still the law.
Oh, right, the baseline. I get it. Yeah.
I mean, like the reason my cell phone has the right time on it, even though the satellites are traveling at a different speed relative to Earth.
Right. Well, they switched to atomic clocks too, and right.
But E equals mc squared corrects that information.
Right. It factors in all of those known... variables in the universe, no matter where it is in the universe.
And in the universe, matter becomes energy, and energy becomes matter.
Yeah. Entropy. That's the thing.
Instinctively, I mean,
it's crazy how shit works. But that was my point to raw talent people. Like, people always compare every one that's great to an Einstein. When it's like, will we ever really have that, or have we already and we missed it?
Yeah, who knows?
Was there another one and they just got overlooked?
Yeah.
Or they didn't pursue that one thing and they did something else. They became a shoemaker instead of changing the world, or
or who knows? I mean, a kid could have died of some disease or something.
Right. Or they died too young before something was made. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about.
A lot of the times back in the past, if you would even dare to assume something of that grandeur, they would consider you to be a witch, and they would kill you.
Yeah. But that, again, I think that's where we've changed, that the information is so We have so much. It's almost the opposite of having too little spread worldwide, but now we have too much spread worldwide. It's the exact opposite with the same effect, is that you have all this real information, but yet you have almost just as much fake information, right? And it's like, without, this is going back to critical thinking, without actually doing your research, thinking logically, like you're going to get had, someone's going to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge at one point. Right. And then you're going to have to learn from that lesson. Did you learn from it, or did you keep buying bridges?
I still owe $182,000 on that bridge.
I'm sure.
At 34% interest.
To that guy.
If I ever find that son of a bitch, let me tell you, if I ever find that bastard, I will strangle him right in front of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of raw talent.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. And I always like to think, like, there's got to be, like, someone knows a welder out there that has raw talent for welding, and they weld like nobody else has ever welded before.
Yeah, my
right?
dad.
Or whatever it is. Like, or like I mentioned, mechanics. There's always that one thing. And it's like, those people, they never know they are, or they do know, but they don't care.
Yeah. You could start your car, turn it off. I know it's wrong. I'm like, you do? Yes, and it's going to cost you this.
And they'll be useless in 10 or 15 years anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that a crazy?
No, it's not.
Whoa.
Mechanics are eventually going to be like truck drivers, just like everything else. Like they're just, remember we talked about it, the people who lit the gas lamps in town every night.
Yeah.
We don't have them anymore. Why? Because we have electric street lights.
That's right.
Right? So, yeah, a really small scale. The Industrial Revolution, workers destroyed factories and machines just to try to halt it, because they knew that this was going to happen. Yeah. It's already happening to us now. It happens in all of our history, but people get all panicked about it though. Like even truckers, because this whole self-driving thing kind of took a break. There's no way they're gonna fully make self-driving cars. Not yet.
Not yet.
We're literally 10 or 15 years
and
away.
even with
it
truck
became
drivers,
fusion is what it became.
Yeah, somebody has to get the stuff off of the back of the truck.
No. That's understandable. But even at that point, aside from like gridded areas, like there are parts of like Arizona, they have sort of like an invisible fence where this car can only drive perfectly in this invisible fence where it's been trained, right? But outside of that, it can't. Now, I'm talking to Tesla self-driving, where that car is just going to drive you wherever. Oh, it'll drive on a highway real good, in and out of lanes for hundreds of miles going straight. But the moment you get into cities, they're not going to fix it. Too many variables.
Yeah.
My point,
like, wake up.
My point is that it's still 10 or 15 years away. So like, you got plenty of time, people. No one's losing their job tomorrow. And if you did, go get another job, because if you didn't see that coming, your job wasn't worth it.
Do you know what terrifies me?
Go ahead.
Okay. In 15 years, cars are going to drive themselves until they get into the city. When I go to the supermarket and I see a 6-year-old kid, I'm like, I'm going to have to worry about you sleeping and then waking up when you pull off of the on-ramp. And I'm going to have to dodge you because you've been sleeping for the last 2 hours. You're wiping your eyes and careening into each
I'm really
lane.
just hoping nobody allows a 6-year-old kid to get into a car by themselves.
No, but by the time...
Whether it's automated or not.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But sure, I get it. But at that
But
point...
by the time he's 16 or 17...
It doesn't matter. Like, we're already there, so we've already acclimated. We have enough time to get used to it. Like, that's the point of the why we don't get all of the new stuff all at once, because you need time.
It would be overwhelming,
right? It needs time to basically to get used to it. Otherwise, forget it. It'll never happen.
If they gave you
disrupt everything.
If you or I got an iPhone when we were 6 years old, we'd be like, "What the hell is going on?"
I mean, hell, you can even look at the regular cell phones, beepers. I was just watching a thing on antiquated technology that they don't use, but yet still used. Fax machines. I think it's laughable, but hospitals still use them. Lots of places still use them. They're actually considered a very high security thing, because information like patient information can't be sent and digitally copied.
Right.
There's certain things. Beepers are still used by
Police.
the originators, doctors, in certain professions. They're not a fad anymore because we have fucking cell phones.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean a
use
doctor
them.
doesn't have a cell phone. It means he has a cell phone and a beeper.
Right.
But the point was, like, you look at all the technology that they're still using today. Our nuclear power plants are from the 60s and 70s, man.
Yeah.
They're not new. They're using the same shit they used all old back then, and like it works. It ain't broken, don't fix it. Well, so far,
It's worked for billions of years.
Right. There are actual still factories today that use punch cards in their computers to program. Remember the old punch cards?
Yeah.
It was literally just a paper with holes in it, and they put it in, and that was a program. So the machine knows to do this, this, and this with these 3 cards, right? And you'd laugh at that. It's like us. Like I had a job.
It's binary math.
Right. But you'd think that they would update, but you can't because the shit is so old. You can't update. Like it just won't work. There's no way to integrate. It's either destroy that and build new, which no one's going to do because it costs billions, right, or whatever millions, or just keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore. You know, they still use floppy disks.
Really?
I think nuclear codes are still held on some kind of disk. Yeah.
What, the 5.5 or the 3 1/4?
Probably both. I mean, the big 5.5 would be for like larger, server-based type things. But if you think about it, it's not connected to the internet. Everything you need is on there, and only a certain amount of people have it. It's pretty fucking secure. But we had floppy disks in our computers growing up. But what did we have them for? Programs, computer games, porn. Bullshit.
Yeah, but Pac-Man took like 5 discs. I mean, how many discs?
Right, but you're
did they
talking
need?
like military grade or whatever at the time, or whatever they needed. But if it was a very specific set, program, they still use them to this day. Yeah, it's kind of wild when you think about it because you don't think about it.
Like the big floppy disks. I think they stored like 1.5K or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like
like
nothing.
piddles of kilobytes compared to what shit is. Like I still marvel over getting like a flash drive with like 250 gigabytes. Like this has 250 gigabytes. This is like the world's data in your hand in whatever 1960.
If you told that
No,
to
not
somebody
even,
back
like,
then, they would laugh at you like,
Oh, yeah,
oh, that's impossible.
And that's where you get into future thinking, like, of what else. That's why I think of, like, people with raw talent. Like, what will be the raw talent of the future? Like, when we take away things that don't necessarily need it anymore. Yeah. Oh, Neuralink. I think it'll be more external, not internal. Yeah. It'll be another 50 to 100 years before we start plugging our brains in like the Matrix. But external caps, like EEGs and stuff like that, like really sophisticated technology that
Doc Brown in Back to the Future with that big helmet.
Instead of, it's not a colander, with a bunch of wires. It's like an actual piece of real tech because they have that stuff now. It's just, I think that's more the angle because people aren't going to be so evasive. We're not in a cybernetic future. We're not in Cyberpunk 77 where people are getting robotic arms replaced and extra processing chips in their heads. No, we're nowhere fucking near that. Yeah.
Well, do you know what? Call me old-fashioned in 100 years, but I would rather just be able to hear a song and play the piano.
No, it's fine.
That's what
I'd rather jack in.
That's what God put me here for. And
my wife laughs at me because she's like, if you would be a test subject. They're like, yeah,
you would
absolutely.
Yeah.
Jack me in. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to be the first. Maybe the first 10. What's the percentage? No, that's the thing. Everyone's probability scale is different because even Neuralink, what Musk is doing, it's not really going to be, it's not for the public. It's not for me and you to upgrade our brains to talk to computers. It's for fucking people who can't walk and can't see. They need normal life more, right? And then I was talking to this one doctor and he's like, yeah, but all those monkeys died from infection. And I'm like, that's why we use monkeys.
Yeah.
But it worked. So it didn't work perfect, but that's why we use animals. And I'm sorry, and I get it. But it's going to happen anyway. But and I said to him, so you're going to tell me that we shouldn't proceed through this if we can help someone see for the first time in their entire lives or walk again?
Okay, walking?
And then he's like, what blind people, he's claiming that in the future, Neuralink will be able to claim
that there's technology right now that can help people that are blind with certain
help. Like you're talking bypassing completely, like the eyes themselves and using cameras.
Yeah,
right. But not everybody has it. But in the future, they will. Or the idea. But even reusing limbs. Bypassing dead nerves that don't work anymore. We just bypass them to the central nervous system, and then we use a computer program. Again,
first thing the dude's going to do is go home and play with himself. Oh, it's been a long time.
I love where you go with these things. Like, not like the first thing you do is like, I don't know. Like,
I'm just realistic.
Have a walk or put his feet in the ocean.
No,
I don't know.
No, he's gonna go home and open the refrigerator and grab a head of lettuce.
Go home and wank off.
Of course. He's gonna be like, baby, it's been a long, long time.
He puts on his 1982 mixtape. Slap on some Journey and go to town.
Yeah,
all right, I got
there
you.
you go. Yeah, but as far as people being able to see that are blind, a lot of people that are blind from the day that they're born, it's different than people that lost their vision.
No, I understand that. Actually, irrelevant. Pick one of them.
Okay.
If it works to fix that, then again, it was more about the noble cause than it was the technology. Like that has to be evasive for that to work. But I don't think everyone doesn't need to be if the cap externally worked to control a computer with your mind or connect with somebody, then we don't need to go evasive. I think that's the direction we'd go.
Look, if you took somebody that was blind from the day that they were born and just set them free, I mean, obviously you wouldn't do that.
Were they like a
would
turkey in a cage?
You would have to guide them, but they would walk off of they would walk off of a bridge right into the water.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Because they don't know what a bridge looks like or the water looks like.
Right, but
if they walked off of the sidewalk into the street,
you didn't give them a
fall.
stick.
They don't need a stick; they could see.
Oh, but even people that are blind, they're explained what a bridge is. They would. I mean,
how do you explain what a bridge is?
I think it's harder to explain color than it would be to explain objects. An object you can explain,
but I mean, why would they know the difference between
something you
object?
walk over not to fall into something else?
Okay, what does it look like?
You could explain it.
How?
I don't know. I've never had to explain it to a blind person.
I mean, if somebody is on the sidewalk and they walk off of a curb into the street, if they've never seen before, they don't understand the depth perception.
No, but isn't that what the stick is for? And then there's people that click nowadays too. They use a Sonic. You ever see that?
They're riding
what
bikes.
That's
and
insane.
What's in front of you?
You want to talk about
a
raw
mailbox?
That was why I think we talked about that during Superpower episode. Because honestly, that's a superpower, man. You really, like, you just dolphined your way through the world.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to. But that's the thing. Dolphins are supposed to. And they can see, right? Bats, same thing. People think bats are blind. They're not. They have okay vision. They just don't need it for what they do, right? So they have both, and it's still fucking amazing. They can pick out a bug. We're not supposed to be able to do that as humans.
Unless we need to.
But there are, and then there's people, even the ones that are good at it, train others to do it. So the idea is like, are we actually forcing an evolutionary change in ourselves just by our ingenuity and our brain?
But we're only aware of our senses. Suppose that you're just you and you could see, smell, taste, hear, and touch. But I could see people that have passed on in a different life.
Okay, fine. But you're talking extra dimensional, like, sense, because there's way more senses than our normal five. I mean, we have plenty. We have depth perception, right? That's a sense.
But if you're blind and I explain it to you, you would say the same thing. Well, that's an extra sense that I don't have.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I would be like, Dave.
I think this is biased because I don't know any blind people. Do you?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah. One of my
not
friends
naturally blind. I would have all these same questions. They'd be tired of hearing about them.
Yeah, one of my friends has Leber's conjunctive amaurosis.
Was he always blind?
No, he lost.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
have to find somebody that always was blind.
So he would like to have his vision back because he knows what's going on around him.
And I'm not saying that even obviously it's not a force, but I'm sure there's plenty of naturally born blind people that would choose not to get their vision because they don't know any different. They don't care. Life is fine.
Yeah, life is
fine. No one's forcing it on anyone. Like my friend, idea that maybe there was some that would, or more for those who lost it after they could.
Yeah, my friend would be like, "This is a dumb question, but do my clothes match?" I'm like, "That's not a dumb question.
That's not a dumb question at all. You're blind."
Yeah. Yes, your clothes match.
Actually, that's a pretty logical question. I hope someone else told you the truth.
Yeah, one time I was getting Chinese food around the corner, and he calls me on the phone, and he's like, "My girlfriend was mad at me, and she took a glass and smashed it on my kitchen floor. So there's shards of broken glass, and I can't move.
Yeah,
can you come over my house?"
Standing in one place.
I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'll come over." Yeah, so I brought Chinese food. I gave him some food. I cleaned up the floor so he wouldn't cut his feet.
Sure.
And there's a thing called Argus. There's Argus 1 and Argus 2. what they do is they take cameras and they put them in your brain.
Yeah, I watched the thing on
yeah.
Argus. Yeah, it's amazing. Same thing. They hook it up to their occipital lobe on the occipital lobe between their eyes, their ocular
Yes.
to the brain, and the camera is the eye.
Right.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
shines the image on the back of your retina, so
Right.
your brain thinks it's seeing.
Right. It's fooling. Yeah, yeah. It basically just it was the middleman.
It's a shortcut.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Which
Argus
is fucking amazing.
Yeah, so if you get Argus 1, you can't get Argus 2 because it's not backward compatible. So he had to wait for Argus 2 to come out.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and I haven't talked to him in a while, so I wonder.
Oh, see that is fascinating. If you could get, I would love to have him in here and talk.
Oh yeah, he would love it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The kind of questions, and not insensitively. That's fascinating.
And do you know what? He would be completely.
What does it
candid
look
about
like?
it.
Describe what you see or describe what you feel. Because I think it's more about a feeling. Like, we're not interested in these things because I think it's not always scientific. It's emotional. We want to know what what it feels like.
Yeah,
why we watch sad movies or movies about things that are bad. Is you kind of put yourself empathetically in that person to understand, because maybe you can or don't want to. I don't want to lose my sight to find out what that's like. Right. Most people wouldn't.
He used to ask me, "Is my girlfriend pretty?" I'm like, "What does it matter?"
Do you think she's? Yeah, I mean that's the first thing I would say. Like, do you think she's pretty? Because that's all that really matters to anyone or anything.
Yeah.
But okay.
And the funny thing is, when it comes to like fantasy football,
was she? Now I'm being insensitive, but I kind of want to know.
He had a couple of them, so I declined to answer that question based on a variety of.
No.
females.
Fair enough.
But he had no problem getting girls.
Yeah. Well, you look past that, Jimmy.
But fantasy football, I mean, we would go to hockey games, baseball games, football games, and my big brother would be like, "Oh, he can't even see what's going on." I'm like, he knows more about what's going on in this game than anybody.
I mean, he can hear, right? I'm sure he could pick up what's going, put it together.
Because he's listening. He's like, okay, this person caught this ball on this yard line. It's 3rd and 2, and this and that.
Yeah.
He knows. His kid would be on the phone with him on the way to the game saying, who should I put in for my flex player this Sunday for fantasy football? And he's talking over my head. I'm like, I don't even know. And I watch football. But I have no idea what he's talking about.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I think he would probably. I know he would come on.
I don't know. This was the longest tangent we ever went on.
Yeah,
I think we fell off the cliff. We we literally were falling to our death of a tangent. I don't even know how to come back from it.
But it was interesting, and let me tell you, that picture that you drew, amazing.
I didn't draw a picture.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, that really is a mouse. Okay.
Did not draw any pictures.
But do you know what's funny? Like, there are so many. I've drawn a million pictures in my life. Half of them look like absolute, not half, 98% of them like absolute garbage.
Sure.
And there's a couple of them I'm like, wow, I drew that? I got lucky?
Yeah. I mean, but I think the artists themselves, my kids like this, and I think we all are, the artists themselves never see, it could always be better.
But I'm not an artist.
It's always, no, you are an artist, and you were an artist, and you always will be an artist. Again, I was too, but my kid is way better, right, than both of us combined. Just because that's what she does with it.
I'm sure. I've never seen her work. I'm sure she is.
I mean, I'm not trying to knock what... I mean, I grew up with you. I've seen your... You had good cartoon art. You were very witty and funny with stuff. But it was simple cartoon art.
Right,
But there's a difference. Again, every artist says the same thing. They're never going to be happy. I think that's actually...
Well, every musician says the same thing.
Yes, I think I was going to say, that's the good attribute of an artist that's really good, is that they're never happy, because the moment you're happy with something,
you never get better.
Why would I ever do it again?
Yeah,
I've completed this task. It's like beating the game. I play a lot of video games. I beat this game 100%. There's nothing else to do in this game. You might play it again, but you're not.
No.
I did it all.
Been there, done it.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm like, I don't go back retro either to like video games. I won't go back to Mario Brothers.
No,
or
hell
something.
no.
Why am I going backwards when I like to go forward? But it's the whole example of artistic ability. Never be happy with it. I think it's the same with creators today. YouTube creators, content creators, whether you're on TikTok or YouTube or whatever you do. I think they have to move forward. Like, they're trying to make the next video better than the last. Not only because the public demands it, right? Not only for that, but for themselves. I think it's more, the good ones are more for themselves.
Yeah.
They do it because they truly want it to be better.
Yeah,
you know?
like if a caveman sees a picture of a man on the wall and it's a stick figure, he's like, oh, good, make better. You know?
It'd be even more interesting if that's how they talked. Like,
Of course they did. What else would they say?
you don't know. You never met a caveman.
Yeah, me live in cave.
That's actually a good segment for our next episode.
Yeah,
Our next episode is all about mammoths.
mammoths.
We're not doing it this episode,
No.
but it'll be our next episode.
Yeah,
Because this is waning down. We've gone over raw talent and superpowered technology tangents. I think we've destroyed it.
yeah, you're sick and tired of us. So we'll let you go.
Yeah, we're going to call it on this one, guys. So thanks for listening to A Lifetime of Conversations. Don't forget, you can always contact us at alifetimeofconversations.com. We are working on a YouTube channel. We're going to get that going hopefully in the next week or two to at least drop one or two, and then we can always drop comments there. And we're working on a Discord as well. So let us know if these are things that you're interested in.
All right, Dave. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Take care.